Palworld, the monster-catching survival game that went from complete obscurity to over 8 million copies sold on Steam in 6 days. But you see, despite the obvious popularity and hype surrounding this game, a bunch of people online are pretty mad at Palworld. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to FinFilms, the channel where we discuss all things nerd culture. In today's video, I'd like to discuss Palworld. In more general, I'd like to offer a defense of Palworld and go into all of the perceived controversies involving this game, as well as a hypothetical lawsuit between the Pokemon Company and Palworld. But first, we really need to ask ourselves, what is Palworld? Palworld is a monster-catching survival game that also combines aspects of third-person shooters. In general, people describe this game as Pokemon with guns, but I think a more apt comparison would be if you were to take a survival games like Ark, or maybe Valheim, because Valheim's actually a good game, and then you combine it with elements of Pokemon, and then you throw in some third-person shooting nonsense just for the memes. Now, don't get it twisted. I thoroughly enjoy this game, and I find it a lot of fun. It's actually been a long time since I've played a game like this that has given me this kind of just fun, joyful feeling that Palworld seems to give off. So we need to ask ourselves, if this game has so many controversy and has made so many people mad, why is it so popular? Well, you see, despite what many people on Twitter would try to tell you, it's actually a good game, and at the very least, I would describe it as a fun game. In general, I think there's like 2 or 3 main reasons why Palworld has become as popular as it has, seemingly overnight. I think, first and foremost, the fact that it is a good game and it is a fun game. It is a fun game to play and to easily sink hundreds of hours into is a large part of it. Now, obviously, because this game has a whole monster catching element into it, a monster collecting element to it, people are naturally going to compare it with Pokemon. And I think this is also really where we see why this game is so popular. Simply because this game is more fun and arguably a better game than any game that Game Freak or Pokemon has made, at least in 10 years, at least since X and Y. As well, when you factor in the actual price of Palworld as a game, even though it is in early access, the game, when I purchased it, was only $25, and the amount of bang for your buck that you get for this game is absolutely insane, especially when you compare it to all of the $60 shitty games like, I don't know, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee that Pokemon is still selling. The amount of content that you get for $25 in Palworld is absolutely insane, and if we're going in this vein of comparing Palworld to Pokemon, Palworld absolutely smokes Game Freak and the Pokemon Company when it comes to bang for buck for your dollar. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm a massive Pokemon fan. I am a child of the 90s. I grew up with Pokemon. I have hundreds, probably thousands of hours on my Pokemon Crystal cartridge. But you see, Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, despite owning the biggest IP in the world, is one of the laziest game development companies I think I've ever seen. For some reason, Game Freak and Nintendo seem incapable of taking any sort of risk since developing Pokemon, and they'd rather copy-paste the exact same formula that we've gotten since 1996 onto their new generation of Pokemon. That's why, personally, I gave Game Freak a lot of credit for their dumpster fire that was Pokemon Legends Arceus, because I applaud them for at least attempting a new formula for a Pokemon game, attempting something new. However, I am afraid that Game Freak is not going to try anything new after how bad Legends Arceus went. To me, it really seems that most of the anger and hatred that Palworld gets really comes from Pokemon community, the Pokemon stands, and really it seems weird to me that people will hate on this game, Palworld, seemingly because it is better than any Pokemon game to come out in the last 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong, as much fun as I'm having with Palworld, there is legit criticism of this game. Specifically, I think all of the chatter online around Palworld potentially stealing Pokemon IP being the most glaring problem. And while specifically I don't think there's anything wrong with the designs of pals in Palworld being inspired by Pokemon designs, however, if Palworld did straight up copy and paste Pokemon models into their game, that is a problem. A potential legal problem. I was actually shocked to see the other day on January 24th, the Pokemon Company actually releasing a statement presumably in response to the rise of Palworld. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon's intellectual property or assets in said game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Now, they didn't name Palworld specifically here in this statement, but it's very obvious who the Pokemon company is referring to here. However, I have to say that so far, I have not seen any concrete proof that Palworld straight up stole and reskinned models from Pokemon, as much as people online say that there is proof. I can assure you that if the Pokemon company believes that their IP has been infringed upon, as IP rights in Japan are much more strict and different than how they function in America, that the Pokemon company will absolutely sue Palworld into oblivion. If you listen to how people discuss this online, they'll make it seem like Palworld just straight up ripped all of their ideas from Pokemon, that like every PAL in Palworld is just a copy paste of a Pokemon, but in reality, there's really only a few PALs that I would say have some glaring similarities that are potentially problematic. And while maybe there are other PALs that are seemingly inspired by Pokemon, I would say that they are enough of their own thing where it doesn't seem like a problem to me. However, I do have to say that if it does come out that Palworld actually did straight up steal models from Pokemon and then reskinned them into their game, they will most definitely feel the wrath of Miyamoto ran down upon them, and I think that that's pretty justified. At this point though, up to my knowledge and my digging, this is pure speculation, and personally, I'm not going to let speculation stop me from playing a game that I am having so much fun enjoying. Despite all of the criticism online that Palworld is just a ripoff of Pokemon, if you actually play the game, it feels so far from Pokemon that it's not even funny. I mean, if you had told me that you were going to design a survival third-person shooter based off of Valheim and Ark, but then also add like a monster collecting element similar to Pokemon and Monster Hunter, I'd probably look at you like you were crazy and think there's no way that this game would work. But Palworld manages to blend all of these different elements of different types of games together in a very unique and very fun gameplay experience. Personally, to me, I find that the survival base building aspect of Palworld closely resembles Valheim, though it easily could be compared to a game like Ark, though unlike Ark, Palworld isn't boring as fuck. Another claim that I've seen really spread online is that Palworld is AI generative. Yep, it's our old pal AI again. We just can't get away from it. Again, at this point, I have not seen any substantive evidence that seems to back up these claims that AI was used in the creation of Palworld. However, if this does turn out to be the case, Palworld will definitely lose some marks from me. Personally, I do not look forward to the day in the not so distant future when AI is replacing human ingenuity and creativity in the entertainment business, not just in game development, but entertainment as a whole. And trust me guys, it's going to happen, and when it happens, it's going to be a shitty day. As far as the game and the gameplay itself though, I was genuinely shocked by just how deep the game goes, whether it's like the crafting system or the base building system, or how it all interlinks through capturing pals, or just the pals themselves, from their different moves to their different typing, their different stats, their passive skills, whether a pal is better suited to be in your party or to work in your base and in your camp. Even the combat itself in the game is more fun than I thought I would expect from a third-person shooters that kind of utilizes Dark Souls iframe rolls. I think really though, my favorite thing about this game, about Palworld, is the many different ways that it feels like you can enjoy it. Like, you don't need to min-max and sweat this game to have an amazing time playing it, and I really do think they did a pretty good job making a base building kind of crafting survival system that's relatively pretty intuitive. One of my favorite things to do in games like this is just to explore the world and get immersed. It's one of my favorite things to do in an open world or just a large world game. Exploring was probably my personal favorite part of a game like Breath of the Wild, and I'm not at all saying that Palworld has done world building as well as Breath of the Wild has, but I do think that Palworld manages to give me this same feeling of wonder and excitement that comes from exploration, which I think is absolutely key when you're making a survival game. Who honestly knows what is in store for the future of Palworld? Again, at the time of recording, there is no concrete evidence that AI was used in the creation of Palworld or that Palworld has seemingly stolen any kind of Pokemon IP, but I can't guarantee you that after the Pokemon company's investigation, if their lawyers think that they have some kind of IP infringement case, they will be pursuing that in court, and then we'll just have to wait and see if something like that ends up delegitimizing Palworld. If anything though, I do hope that the overnight success of Palworld would be enough to give a really strong wake-up call to Game Freak and the Pokemon Company to sit down and really think about making a new creative Pokemon game. But let's be honest with ourselves, that's not going to happen. Why would Game Freak feel any motivation to create anything new, to take any actual risks, when they know that they can just copy and paste this Pokemon formula that they've been doing for like 20 years, 30 almost years now, into a new gen that they know is going to sell like 20 million plus copies? At the end of the day though, these are just my thoughts and my opinions. What I can say though, if you are on the fence about Palworld, or you feel some kind of allegiance to Pokemon that's preventing you from playing Palworld, I highly encourage you to give Palworld a chance. Just play a few hours and see if you like it. As far as any future lawsuit in the Pokemon Company, we're just going to have to wait and see, and expect update videos in the future if things start getting a little spicy between Game Freak and Palworld. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see other Palworld content, this is my third Palworld video that we've released this week, so feel free to check out my Smash or Pass Palworld video. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As always, drink your water, hug your mother. Until next time, stay safe out there. Peace, love, Adu.